Nigeria records 745 new COVID-19 cases, highest number ever confirmed in a single day. All Progressives Congress in a state of flux as court installs Gaidam as party's acting national chairman. In international news, China says all is calm and under control at its border with India. And in sport, NBA players will wear a smart ring at Disney World to detect COVID-19 symptoms.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, never once has the country recorded as high a number as it did on Wednesday. Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC confirmed 745 new infections that bring the country's new coronavirus tally to 18,480. And to play that broken record again, Lagos recorded the highest toll of 280. Oyo followed with 103 cases. The federal capital with 60 cases was beaten back by Ebonyi, where 72 infections were recorded. 17 other states adjusted for the rest of the numbers, recording figures ranging from 1 to 46 cases. NCDC reports 6,307 patients have been discharged, while 475 have died. The courts are playing an active role in the turmoil that has embroiled the All Progressives Congress as a high court in the Federal Capital Territory gives another order upholding Victor Gaidam as the acting national chairman of the party. In the last 2 days, the party has had 3 chieftains that have emerged as acting national chairman after the Court of Appeal upheld the suspension of Adams Oshiomhole. APC had announced former governor of Oyo State, Senator Abiola Jimobi, as acting national chairman, but he is currently receiving hospital treatment, so the party chose Hilliard Etta to occupy the seat on his behalf. Then a court order was cited that asked Mustafa Saliu to act as the party's national secretary, but Saliu said it was not possible as he was present when Waziri Bulama was endorsed as acting national secretary. Meanwhile, a Rivers State High Court has restrained Victor Gaidam from claiming to be a member of the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress. The court says this is because Gaidam resigned as Deputy National Secretary of the party to run for Deputy Governor in the party's primaries in 2019. The Federal Airport Authority has announced a new airport protocol to kick in once the airport reopens for domestic flights. FAN announced on its official Twitter account on Friday what it called COVID-19 Flight Resumption Protocol for Passengers. In it highlighted one policy that would only allow traveling passengers into the departure hall. The agency says a new requirement is that escorts going to the airport with VIPs will not be allowed in the departure halls. Domestic flight service was to resume on Sunday, but the Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Musa Nuhu, has since said that dates would no longer be feasible. No new dates for reopening were announced. The coronavirus pandemic started as a healthcare crisis but has since morphed into a financial debacle for many countries. The pandemic has placed the livelihoods of millions at risk, and Nigerians are feeling the impact as unemployment rate spikes in the country. Correspondent Kelechi Mekalam reports.
School bus driver Augustine Mike is back on the streets hunting for a job. He's one of the millions of Nigerians who lost their jobs since the coronavirus outbreak. Schools across the country remain shut, and Augustine's employer had to cut down on overhead costs. After being laid off, Augustine's effort to find a new job hasn't yielded much results.
Well, right now I'm just in the street searching for work to see how I can be able to get a job that I can do. My coming here for just to get a taxi, if I can see someone that have a taxi that can give to me to start using taxi to feed myself for some time.
Nigeria is facing a major unemployment crisis. A recent report by the government's Economic Sustainability Committee projects that the unemployment rate could hit 33.6% by December. This means that nearly 40 million employable Nigerians will be out of work.
The impact of the crisis is that we are going to have lower GDP growth rate. We have started experiencing it. Nigeria will likely go into a recession by the time the result for Q2 comes out. As we speak, our growth rate reduced from 2.27% to 1.87%. That is significant, and that is lowest in the last 2 years. And as we speak, we still have a lot of sectors such as entertainment and so many other sectors, education, schools that have still been shut down nationwide.
Now, government says it wants to explore a strategy to encourage local production as a way out of oil dependence and a looming recession.
Talk is cheap because you cannot encourage local manufacturer without power, without infrastructure, without competence in education and health. And when you look at power supply, we see distribute less than 4,000 megawatts as against what we require of about 400,000 megawatts. What it means is our provision is 1% of what is required for the country with a size of 200 million people and businesses that require power.
Nigeria's oil revenues continue to dwindle with an estimated monthly loss of $464 million. Experts advise on the need to support local producers and create an enabling environment and policies that would aid small businesses to operate.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has weighed in on the arrest of Ramoni Igbalode, also known as Hush Puppy, and his Nigerian friends on many alleged cybercrime cases. Hush Puppy was arrested 10 days ago by the International Police, Interpol, and the FBI in Dubai in an alleged $35 million ventilator scam. AFCC spokesman Dele Oyewale said in a statement the commission is familiar with Hush Puppy's alleged money laundering transactions that were said to have involved other cyber criminals on trial in Nigeria. He said AFCC is working with the FBI to trace victims of the fraudulent transactions. Meanwhile, Chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, says Hush Puppy's arrest should not be used to judge Nigerians living abroad. In a tweet, Dabiri Erewa said there are many Nigerians that are doing the right things and excelling legitimately abroad. She said, quote, "One bad apple should not spoil the whole bunch," end quote.
Coming up, African news. Kenyan courts go digital in deference to COVID-19 pandemic. And later, international news. China says all is calm and under control at its border with India.
You are watching ANN. Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you'll need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, African News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The coronavirus pandemic has brought out some ingenious ideas on how to continue business without endangering humans. So it is in Kenya where the courts have gone digital. Nick Modimba has the story.
This is Hibo Hussein, a lawyer in Nairobi, Kenya. She is currently having a virtual court session. Business as usual, but platform unusual.
My experience that is really good. It's working. It's something that we can work with in this pandemic. However, I feel like we both need to be trained. The members of the bar and the bar itself. I mean, the members of the bar, the members of the judges. In terms of, I think you could see that some of us, our mics are still on and we are doing our own things. And so it's kind of a distraction.
Oral advocacy is perhaps the most difficult aspect of virtual hearing. But for Dennis Kira, who is also a lawyer, this is the start of a journey that will change the judicial world.
COVID-19 has given lawyers in Kenya an opportunity to be able to serve the public through virtual courts. As you're aware, previously, the Chief Justice had downscaled operations, courts had closed, so the wheels of justice had grounded, and virtual hearings have now taken over. I think to just say 80% of cases right now in Kenya are handled virtually.
It's incredibly positive news coming out of a number of jurisdictions. South Africa has been having virtual hearings. In Tanzania, the appellate division of the East African Court of Justice has started having hearings. There are hearings in Nigeria.
Virtual hearings have become somewhat uncharted territory, and everyone going through the same learning experience. It's fair to say that all participants, including judges, arbitrators, mediators and legal practitioners, have been having challenges. But for Hibo Hussein, these should now start from the schools teaching law.
They need to be more practical in terms of what is exactly happening in practice, apart from the theoretical aspect of the law, which would be like, for example, in terms of accessing the court, in terms of virtual hearings or calls or conference calls or whatever it is, or introducing laws that are tech-oriented.
The matters that have full hearings where you have to bring in witnesses, and because of the cessation of movement, the challenge that currently is evident is that you cannot be able to proceed with a full hearing virtually, because either your witness on the other end cannot be able to connect to the court, to the virtual court, and produce his testimony.
They're replying affidavit that there was an error.
Compared to the physical hearings in the courts of law, the virtual idea has taken off, and now experts believe there'll be no reverse gear anytime soon.
Online hearings are the future. It's what's going to happen, and there's no point comparing it with a physical hearing. They're going to offer a different form of justice, a different way of receiving resolutions to clients' disputes.
The digitization and, of course, the virtual hearings here in Kenya started way back in 2010. At that time, it wasn't taken seriously, but this time round, due to COVID-19 and the strict measures of physical distancing, it's the new norm. Judges, lawyers, stakeholders in the system are now lacking the fact that they can work in the comfort of their homes and offices, but as long as they pass critical laws.
When we return, international news. China says all is calm and under control at its border with India. And later, sport. NBA players will wear a smart ring at Disney World to detect COVID-19 symptoms.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The European Parliament wants EU governments to assign new sources of revenue to the bloc so the Union can repay European Commission borrowing for recovery. Head of the European Parliament, David Sassolu, told a news conference that unless there were new revenues dedicated to the EU, the European Parliament would not sign off on the next budget and recovery plan. The EU budget is partly to guarantee a level playing field and support the urgent investment which holds the key to Europe's future prosperity and resilience. Garrett Roth, officer accused of killing Rashad Brooks in Atlanta last week, has been moved from Fulton County Jail to a different facility in Metro Atlanta over security concerns. Roth turned himself in on Thursday and is being held without bond. The former police officer is facing felony murder and 10 other charges in Brooks' death. The incident has reignited a series of protests across the United States. A second officer at the scene, Devin Brosnan, faces an aggravated assault charge for allegedly standing on Brooks' shoulders as he lay dying in the parking lot. The COVID-19 pandemic and nationwide protests have had a significant negative impact on many businesses across the U.S. But that's not the case with gun shops and shooting range owners. Local media outlets have been reporting all week that Florida, Alabama, and North Carolina vendors have had a substantial increase in demand from their communities. Reporter Dan Williams has more on the story.
A gun owner takes aim at a shooting range on the outskirts of Chicago. This shooting range and gun shop has enjoyed brisk business of late amid the COVID-19 pandemic and the recent nationwide racial justice protests.
They came in like gangbusters and started buying up everything.
Tom Dorsch is the director of operations at On Target Range. He says he's seen an increase in sales across the board, including a significant number of first-time buyers.
It hit us like a sucker punch. All of a sudden it was a Friday and it seems like the zeitgeist was at work in the minds of Americans, and they said it's time to protect ourselves. If they already had guns, they wanted more ammunition. If they didn't have a gun or ammunition, they were here for that.
According to local reports, between mid-March and early May, there was a near 60% rise in background checks compared to the same period last year in Illinois, suggesting a major uptick in new gun owners. Management at this shooting range and gun shop say they are still working to restock supplies following the initial rush that occurred at the beginning of the pandemic. And for first-time buyers, staff here strongly suggest they undertake a course or a series of lessons.
I just do that same malfunction drill. Finger outside the trigger, tap that.
This is one of the concealed carry classes. Organisers say since the pandemic began, their courses fill up as quickly as they offer them.
We just started offering another class that we found was wildly popular. It's called How to Defend Your Home or Tactical Home Defense. And once again, we tried to fill a need because we know that a lot of people are thinking about it. If a lot of folks, bad guys perhaps are out of work or looking for an easy score, they're going to go into someone's home. We filled that class in about 24 hours.
Gun shops and shooting ranges were deemed an essential service shortly after the lockdown began. Those who attended this class say they understand the fresh demand.
A lot of times what motivates people isn't what's actually going to happen, but they have fear.
The world's in a weird spot right now. So I don't know if I'll ever actually carry it, but I want the option to carry my firearm with me to defend myself and my family should the need ever arise.
But the surge in demand has created a major strain in processing firearm owner identification cards. A backlog, it appears, that continues to build.
Chinese Foreign Ministry says tempers have cooled on its border with India and that the situation at the border is now stable and controllable. Yan Chidin reports.
Reiterating its stance, the Chinese Foreign Ministry says that the cause of Monday's clash at the China-Indian border is clear and that both sides agreed to resolve problems through dialogue and make efforts to ease the situation on both sides of the border.
目前 For now, the overall situation along the border with India is stable and controllable. We believe China and India can solve the ongoing disputes properly, given the consensus reached by leaders of the two countries. The two sides should work on maintaining peace and stability in the border region, and ensure that bilateral relations move in a healthy and a stable direction.
And on Wednesday, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi held phone talks with his Indian counterpart, urging the Indian side to thoroughly investigate the clash. Wang said, quote, "We strongly urge India not to miscalculate the situation and must not underestimate the Chinese side's firm will and resolve to defend our sovereignty and territorial integrity." Wang urged the Indian side to strictly punish people responsible for the incident and immediately stop all infringement and provocative actions to ensure no such incidents will happen again. The Indian foreign minister also expressed the commitment to follow the important consensus reached by the two countries' leaders and ease the tensions. Now, the overall situation along the border is described as stable and controllable. Beijing says the two sides should follow the important consensus reached by the leaders of the two countries, ensure that China-Indian relations move in the right direction, in line with the interests and expectations of both nations.
Up next, sport. NBA players will wear a smart ring at Disney World to detect COVID-19 symptoms. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News in Sport. As the NBA restarts its season using the Disney World facilities in Orlando, Florida, players are set to wear a smart ring to track all symptoms of COVID-19. The Euro Smart Ring keeps track of temperature, heart rate, sleeping patterns, and respiratory rates. The smart ring will provide early warning signs if a player is in danger of contracting the coronavirus. When the NBA resumes next month, players will stay at 3 separate Disney World Resort hotels and will play games at the ESPN Wide World of Sports facility. The UAE Pro League will not crown a champion for the 2019-2020 season because the league was cancelled. Dubai-based Shabab Al Ahly were on top of the standings with 43 points from 19 games when the campaign was stopped in March. The league and the UAE Football Association also decided in an extraordinary general meeting that no teams would be relegated from the 14-team top flight competition for the 2020-2021 season. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a safe weekend.